bass fishing, snakehead fishing, crabbing, whatever. I'll show you the differences in setup I use, depending on what I'm targeting for the day. I'm even going to show you guys how I haul it around, all the stuff I use, all the gear I use. So we're pretty much taking a deep dive on my kayak and how I rig everything up. Let's get to it. All right, y'all, first thing we're going to get into is how I get this thing on the truck, how I drive this thing all over the place. I'm going to show you the gear I use, type of straps, bed extender, and all that stuff. All right, let's go. All right, y'all, I use a T-bone by Boondocks to haul this thing around. With the gate down, my bed's only about 5.5 feet. That's with the bed down. It's a 4-foot bed, so I need a little extra reach out there to hold this thing up. So I use a T-bone by Boondocks, and I'll hook that up right now. All right, we got that taken care of. I've got all kinds of old soft plastics in the bed of my truck. That's from re-rigging before I head out on the water. I might make a video one day, like a challenge, see what I can catch just from the plastic that's in my truck bed. Some of this stuff has been in this truck bed for who knows, at least 5 years. It's barely plastic anymore. All right, this is what I use to strap everything down. It's these SPT canoe locks. They go in like this, and when you tighten it down, use a key to lock it in place, so nobody can loosen this thing without the key. There's metal running through here. Of course, somebody could cut it, but you know, nobody's gonna have the opportunity unless they have tools to steal my shit. If I say run into Bass Pro Shop like I've done before with the kayak, or you know, run into Walmart real quick if I forgot something, stuff like that. So they work great, and gives you that little added bit of safety from people stealing your shit. But this kayak is so goddamn heavy, it's gonna be a pain in the ass if somebody does want to get it off my truck and then haul it into theirs. So I really don't worry about that. But these canoe locks work wonderful. And another reason why I like these canoe locks, I've seen some people that use ratchet straps to strap down their kayaks. They over ratchet it and wind up crushing their kayaks a little bit and causing cracks and stuff like that. And I can't pull on this thing hard enough to hurt this kayak, so that's another reason why I like these canoe locks. And over there, that's the back. That's like an emergency thing I just put on the back of the kayak. I really don't need it, but I use it anyway. So what I do is I get this thing up on the truck, the back strap, the one I really don't need, I run it through here, get it nice and tight so the back end doesn't move at all. The middle strap, I wrap it through these handles. These handles are really strong, they're not going nowhere. I run it through here, tighten it down really good. And the one that's on the bed extender just goes over the nose, comes down real tight, and this thing doesn't even move when I get it up there on the truck. And remember, guys, when you're hauling your kayaks, always have some kind of a red flag on the nose, the part that's sticking out. You don't want nobody running into the back of your kayak, do you? So always have something out there so people can see it better. All right, so now we'll get into the actual kayak itself. It's a Native Titan, 12-foot. It's the hidden oak color. I've had it since 2018. Haven't had any problems with it. The steering gets a little loose, but I take it off and tighten it a lot. It needs a little bit of it right now. I have the upgrade rudder and the upgrade steering, but I'm just keeping that as a backup because I really don't need it. Yeah, it's a little loose, but it doesn't affect steering and usage at all. So I'm just gonna leave it on here until it wears out, and then I'll put on the upgrade. I got the Boondocks rudder in green, the same Green is the Boondocks on the bed extender. And I got the Burley Pro, but I really don't need it, so I'm not gonna use it until I need it. All right, the paddles I have, you've seen, and if you saw me crabbing, you've seen them. It's got this hook on it, which comes in real handy. You know, I use it when I'm crabbing to grab the lines. It's a backwater assassin. You know, it goes together so you can have the whole paddle thing going on. But these hooks come in so handy. Like you get something caught in a tree, you can grab it, pull the branch down to you so you can get your lure out of the tree. That happens more than I like to admit. And another thing is if you're you know, you're fishing with a buddy and you want to, you know, get closer to their boat or their kayak, you can grab a part of them, pull yourself to them. It's good when you're like near a dock, you're going to get on a dock or something like that. You can grab the dock, pull yourself to the dock. So these come in really handy. I'd recommend them to anybody. That hook comes in so handy. And to haul this thing around, I got the native landing gear. I couldn't move this thing around if I didn't have this thing on wheels. It's just too damn heavy. The seat, it's the loudest part of the kayak. I'm sure you've heard it in my my videos before. When I go to set the hook, you hear this thing creeping because I just pull up. You know, I get up onto the end of my seat before I set the hook, and you hear this thing squeaking and screaming. There you go, right there. That's the only problem I have with this is it's a little loud on video, but it's comfortable. I've sat in this thing for 14 hours before, and you know, the propel drive. This thing's been going strong for 4 years. Yep, this is the 5th year going into. This thing's been going strong. I just take care of it, keep it lubed up. Haven't had any trouble. It gets a little squeaky sometimes. You just get in here, you know, lube up the gears, noise goes away, and you're fine. I've heard a lot of people have, you know, trouble with the propel drive. I haven't had any trouble. Just take care of your stuff, y'all. I mean, if you don't take care of this thing and you just go out there and beat it to death for 3 years, yeah, you're gonna have problems. But take care of your gear. All right, y'all, let's go into the hatch. I'll show you what I keep in my kayak at all times. I keep these cups in here just in case I ever get water in here. I can bail it out. And I also use it if I'm fishing with minnows or something. I just use it to change some water. It's an easy way to put some fresh water into your minnow buckets. Keep the measure board just in case I'm ever interested in measuring a fish. That stays in here at all times. And then I got this. This is the park out pole. Goes together. I think it's an 8-footer. It stays in the boat at all times. It's really good if you're on a spot. I never use an anchor. Anchors can get snagged up, and a lot of the incidents with people falling out of their kayaks or rolling their kayaks comes from pulling anchors. So I don't even mess with that. I just use this. I just stick it down into the mud, and I use this clamp right here, grab onto it, and I ain't going nowhere. That clamp is always tight on there because sometimes I forget it. And if you forget it, then this pole is pretty worthless unless you stick it through your scupper hole, but I advise you to never do that. I've heard some horror stories of people doing stuff like that. I've even heard horror stories of people rigging some kind of wheel system to go into their scuppers, and what happens is you wind up cracking your kayak from inside your scupper holes. So I would never stick anything into the scupper holes of your kayak. All right, that's gonna do it for the kayak as is, and now we'll get into how I rig this thing up. All right, first we'll get into the stuff that's always coming with me, which would be my cooler, my rod holders, and some gear. And then I'll break down the differences between how I'm rigging this thing up for snakehead, bass, crappie, crabbing, how I rig it up for crabbing, and I'll show you all that stuff. All right, this is really the only piece of gear that comes with me every time the kayak comes out, is this angle cooler, 19 quart. It fits perfect right there in between here. So it's already pretty stable because it bangs into the pieces on the landing gear. And another thing I always, oh crap, I got some stuff in there from my last trip. I always keep the bungees in that pan. That way I never forget them. They're always in there. I got plenty of these to replace. You know, every time they start getting a little worn out, I replace them. So let's go in here with the bungees. You know, if you got a kayak, bungees are your best friend. So I come in here through here. That's the first bungee. And I use these little rail eye loops to keep everything attached. The landing gear is awesome because it's got a little bit of track on it. I use that for extra stuff. I put my rod holders in here when I'm fishing so I can bring extra gear, because I'm one of those bozos that can't go fishing with 1 or 2 rods. I bring a whole arsenal. That's just how I like to fish. I like to have something on the ready. If I see an opportunity, you know, show itself, I like to be right there ready to take advantage if I can, if I got something already tied on. And what I do, I go around these rod holders. Everything's secure. That thing's not going nowhere. It's ready to hold my rods. Put some ice in it, makes it even heavier, and this thing's not going nowhere. I've never had any issues with it wobbling, falling over, which is very good because I don't want to lose on my rods and on my gear. And always be prepared. I always keep a few extras in case something goes wrong. Alright, that's the piece of gear that comes with me every trip. The rod holders I like to use, they're Kayak Accessories, I think they are. They got that locking feature right there. If I'm cat fishing or something, they'll be up on the front. Striper fishing, they'll be up there on the front. But most of the time they're back here just to hold rods. You know, they're adjustable. You can move them a bunch of different angles. But like I said, most of the time they're just back here holding the rods up. And there it is with the rods in it. I typically bring 7 rods. I usually have my bait casters. Sometimes I'll have extra spinning gear back here, but I usually keep a spinning rod with the reel laying right next to me with the point up there. These are rod tip protectors, but I never use them. I usually just have my bait, my tip of my rod laying right here. Easy to get to. Most of the time the rod right there, I'm using something weightless because if I see some fish activity or I get a follow on something, I like to have something weightless there to follow it up. Even with snakehead, sometimes you'll see a snakehead, you know, back in the muck. You know, some of this stuff you can't really get back there. You can get the frogs and stuff back there, but usually I got something weightless and weedless right here, and I can just fire it back in there real quick. It's always right there ready for me, and I leave that right there. So usually I bring 7 rods. If I'm drop shotting or Texas rigging, well, actually my Texas rig's a bait caster as well, but if I'm drop shotting or if I'm using a really light bait, I'll put some spinning gear back here, but mostly it's bait casters. So I'll show you what I do with my baits and stuff like that. All right, y'all, this is my gear bag. Comes with me every time, almost every time I go fishing, unless I'm crappie fishing. This undersea storage is the shit. I always bring way too much gear, but like I said, I like to make sure I have what I want when I want it. So I got 2 fat boxes that fit underneath. Usually, if I'm going to get really in detail, if I'm snakehead fishing, this box will go in first. If I'm bass fishing, they're opposite. Because when I'm snakehead fishing, I'm in this box a lot, so I keep it in the front. That's my top water box. I got a whole bunch of new baits that I bought this winter. I always cash in on the winter sales around Christmas time. So I gotta go through here and it's like making the team. I have some new stuff. If there's anything in here, I gotta make room. They'll go to my from shore gear. I have a couple backpacks that are ready to go all the time from when I fish from shore. There's a little locking thing down here. Make sure nothing slides out. This is my terminal. Fits right in this little section right there. I always got some extra shit in here. I'm gonna have to clean this thing out. Sometimes I just throw stuff in here. Oh, here's a tip for everybody. If you ever buy anything that comes with these little packets, I got a bunch of them that I just got from Christmas time. Keep these and keep them with your gear. Keep them in your boxes, keep them in your bags. It'll keep stuff from rusting. Just a little extra protection to keep your gear from rusting out. I've lost a bunch of gear from rust back in the day, so I try to keep all my stuff clean. Right over here I keep my my tools. Always need pliers, something to some scissors, cut braid, cut whatever. And if you're snakehead fishing, you always need one of those. You always need your vest. I always never wear it, but you need to have it. So this usually fits back here like that. I'm surprised I haven't lost it yet. And if I'm snakehead fishing, that's why I love this big boat. If I'm snakehead fishing, actually I never put it that way. It goes this way. If I'm snakehead fishing, put about 10 pounds of ice in there. Fill that thing up with snakes. Fill that freezer up. Oh, and another thing. And when you're snakehead fishing, you need a snakehead net. This is a huge, deep net. Very important to have the right net if you're catching snakeheads. If you go out there with a little puny bass net, those snakeheads are going to get right out of it. Trust me. All right, I think that's about it. I don't use, when I'm snakehead fishing, I never use my never use electronics, because I'm not looking for snakeheads in 10-15 feet of water. So I have no use for electronics when I'm snakehead fishing. Oh, there's one more thing you never want to leave home without when you're snakehead fishing. Blinded by the light. That always goes right there. If you're gonna be keeping snakeheads, you need a way to dispatch them, and that's my tool right there. And I'll show you the little differences from when I'm bass fishing or doing some other kind of fishing and not snakehead fishing. First thing, if I'm not snakehead fishing, or if I'm not catching perch or anything like that, this cooler does not come. What takes the cooler's place is this big bag of soft plastics. I have all the soft plastics I'll ever need in there. I have about 1,000 more packs in there and a couple chests, but I pick what I want, the best stuff I'm using at the time, and it goes there. The soft plastics I use for snakehead fishing, I just take exactly what I want: flukes, swim baits, maybe a few other things, and I just tuck them besides the seats, because I really don't have room for that bag when I got that cooler in there. This is my electronics bag. It holds a lot of extra stuff too, in case I forget stuff. Like, this is my Crappie box. If I'm going crappie fishing, all that gear underneath the seat doesn't come, and this comes. Everything else is pretty much the same. There's two more items that come every time I take the kayak out. Is this box here. I always have a multi-tool. Every time I take the kayak out, this comes with me, because you never know what you're going to need, and this covers a lot of those bases. And when I get on the boat, I put my keys and my wallet in here, keep them dry. If this thing was ever gonna, if I ever sank or whatever, this thing will float. I'll at least be able to get my keys. And I always tuck this back here on top of these boxes. It just sits back there. Move it out of the way if I need to. And this is my scale bag. I always keep, there's a few extra hooks in there, some batteries, but I keep my scale in here because I like to know the size of my big fish. exactly. I don't like to guess because you'll never guess right. And that usually stays tucked in right there if I ever want to weigh a fish. But this scale is going to be getting retired because Spro just had a deal this week. If you spent $50 on the website, you got a free Spro scale. So I'm going to be replacing this Rapala scale with that Spro scale. All right, electronics. I use this Nakwa 10 mAh battery pack, lithium. This goes back here every time I use my electronics. It stays right there. This is my Lowrance 5-inch hook triple shot. It's got maps on it. It's got side scan, down scan, structure, anything that I'm gonna need when I'm out fishing. And that plugs to the battery pack right here. And I just took all these wires back here out of the way. Then the transducer came with so much cord. I just coiled it around the arm and zip tied it on there. And I use ram ball mounts and ram ball, you know, equipment on the transducer and the unit. Keep it up out of the way when you're moving the kayak around so you don't scrape her up. Plug this in and you're in business. I have a pair of gloves, sun gloves. These are a little bit colder weather gloves at the moment. But I keep a pair of these in my gear bag. I keep a pair of them in here, my backpacks. Because you never know if you're going to forget a pair, you didn't put it away right, you always got something. And another thing, when I'm bass fishing, I don't bring this giant snakehead net because you can put a 4-pound bass in there and he's going to look tiny inside this giant net. And you don't want that to happen. So you get your old bass net when you're going bass fishing. There's no need for this giant snakehead net. And for the record, bass fight harder than snakeheads. You hear me? Boom. You hear me? All right, I think that's it for the fishing side. You see everything I got hooked up. Like I said, I use ball mounts to hook up my electronics. Use that Nakwa 10 mAh battery. I've used that on a Saturday and a Sunday. Put probably over 20 hours on that battery without charging it, and it never shut off. So that thing's a beast. If you're only using this, I have a cable I can plug into it if I have to emergency charge my phone, but that usually doesn't happen. So I think that's about it for the fishing side. I'll show you how I get all hooked up for crabbing now. All right, all my stuff I use when I'm crabbing on the kayak, I just keep in here. This is the size bungees I need to rig this up. Keep a crate and all my floats. You've seen that before. Measuring tool. You have to have this or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because trust me, they will come up and they will measure every crab you have. And don't give yourself an 1/8 of an inch to keep a little crab, because they're not going to give it to you if they measure it, and you will get a ticket. So always have one of these, and don't try to squeeze in anything. This is a starter show. This is a basket made by a company called H&H. It's pretty much indestructible. And I got to go get some of my circles. Yeah, I moved them in the back, so I think they're easy to get to. Yeah, I gotta take some rods down. All right, you're gonna need 2 of these track mount eye loops, and just get them on here at the end of your track. The only way this thing's gonna fail on you is if you do not tighten these down enough. They will slide off the track, and that thing's gonna go flying. And if it's full of crabs, you're gonna be very upset. So you got to make sure you tighten these things down real good, because you don't want that to happen. And another one over here. Like I said, you got to make sure these are tightened down really, really good. And you just hook in to the eye loop. You go through the handle of the basket. We'll just leave it like that for now. Then you come down to the front handle. It's going to stretch pretty good, but that's what you want. And that usually stays right in place. The only thing that could happen is if you try to pull this thing to you, it's going to go like that. But usually I don't have to move this thing at all. I'm going to head out. I just keep my floats inside of it. After I put the floats in the water, I take this out. And I keep this back here. And once you get a dozen or so crabs in there, or if you see them climbing up the sides, I'll just use this as a lid. I'll just put this on here, and when I get a crab, I'll lift this out, put a crab in, put it back on there. And I gotta keep the crabs in there. And if I ever, usually if I'm kayak crabbing, I'm not out there to catch a bushel of crabs, so I usually don't have this problem. But I have done it before, where this started getting a little high, and this was just pushing down on the crabs, and I didn't like that. I didn't want to kill the crabs. Then I'll start moving crabs into this behind me, and I can, you know, put the lid down on top of them. But like I said, when you're out on the kayak, you're not going to catch a bushel of crabs, so you really don't have to worry about that much. But you always want two. You always want two of these baskets, because if you catch crabs, what are you going to put your floats on top of the crabs? No, you're not going to do that. And lastly, you get your crabbing net. I just keep this in here. Sometimes I lay it down beside me. And oh, and like I said before, when I'm crabbing on the kayak, I use my paddle with the hook, and I use it to pull strings. You can get, you know, a regular hook. A lot of boat places sell the regular, you know, long handle hooks. You don't have to use this, but I always have this on my boat, so. And that's it. And that's how I set up to go crabbing. Always use my electronics when I'm crabbing, because it's very important to be crabbing the right depth, depending on what time of year and where the crabs are at. So that's about it, y'all. I've been asked for a long time to do a video like this on how I set up my kayak. Well, there you have it. That's pretty much every way I rig up my kayak for snakehead, crappie, bass, crabs, whatever. Another video that a lot of people have wanted is my rods and reels, you know, technique specific stuff I have, and they want me to go through all my gear. I'll make that video when I have a chance. Like I said, I bought a lot of gear in winter. I got some new rods in there, some new reels. I got to do the mix matchy thing. There's some techniques I want to dial in a little bit better, and I got some gear to do that. So once I get all that ready and I have everything ready the way that I'm going to be fishing this year, I'll go over my rods and reels and tell you why I use what I use and stuff like that. Very technique specific stuff. Well, anyway, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're thawing out. Look, I'm outside. It's not even that cold. Till next time, y'all. Thanks for watching Hookset TV.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost. I'ma stay loud, stay proud, never running out, never heading south. I'll be spreading out, call it word of mouth, can't put me down, I'll be getting loud. You can have your doubts, not what I'm about, have your fucking clout. It be raining now, I keep making sound, go another round, bitch I'm legend bound, can't stop me now.